recent Codex committees. Prepare for effective regional engagement at CAC 48. Strategize future participation in Codex committees. Advance regulatory transformation in support of food innovation. Strengthen capacity in Codex and risk-based food control. Led by the International Union of Food Science and Technology, IUFOST, and the Global Food Regulatory Science Society, G-Force, in collaboration with the Food Innovation Regulatory Network, FERN, the Food Science and Technology Association of Thailand, FOSTAT, and the Federation of Institutes of Food Science and Technology in ASEAN, FIFSTA, and the National Bureau of Agricultural Commodity and Food Standards, ACFS, with Codex contact points and regulators across the Codex Coordinating Committee for Asia, CC Asia. This is a united regional vision for food safety. Because food safety is people, it is protection, it is trust. 2025 Asia Codex and Food Regulatory Forum, Bangkok, August 18th to 20th. Shape the future.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I hope you had a very good dinner yesterday and you are ready for day 3, the final day. So maybe you are tired or excited, I don't know. But yeah, and we have already full agenda. But today also we have a very interesting agenda item. So yeah, so please contribute the discussion as well as day 1 and day 2. So, and also the before we start, actually I'd like to introduce the 2025 Global Food Regulators Summit held by our colleagues at India. So, and please show the slide, please. Third Global Food Regulators Summit 2025 will take place on the 26th to 27th September this year in New Delhi, India. So unfortunately, it is a little bit overlapped the schedule of CC Asia, but just report adoption and the next Saturday. So maybe you can participate in the Global Food Regulators Summit. And it is organized by FSSAI, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. And Dr. Alka is working for the FSSAI and to bring together food regulators, international organizations like WHO, Codex, Secretariat, and FAO and EFSA. So research institute and industry stakeholders. The summit focuses, I think this agenda item, this brochure will be provided to you later. And the summit focuses on strengthening global food safety regulators and harmonization, using science, technology, and digital systems for safer and sustainable food, promoting nutrition, healthy diet, and traditional foods, and building skills of regulators and encouraging public-private partnerships. And the program has 8 main sessions covering topics such as global regulatory frameworks and so on. And yeah, so it looks very interesting agenda item. And the Dr. Alka provided me the podcast audio, so we will play the audio, so please hear that. Thank you.
Welcome, deep divers. Ever stop and think about, what the future of your food looks like and who's actually making the big decisions? Today, we're doing just that. We're taking a deep dive into the upcoming 3rd Global Food Regulators Summit in 2025. We've looked through the official brochure, the program. We're really trying to get a handle on it. Our mission to unpack what the summit is all about, who's going to be there, and, well, why it's such a critical event for global food safety. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and what's really striking, I think, is just the sheer scale of it, the ambition. They're aiming to build this unified global platform for food safety, which is quite a leap towards being proactive.
Oh,
You
no.
know, especially with how complex the food system is becoming. It affects all of us every day.
That proactive part, that feels really key, doesn't it? So let's get into the specifics. When and where is this happening? It's set for September 26th and 27th, 2025. And the venue is the Bharat Mandapam Pragati Maidan, right in New Delhi, India. The organizer behind it all is India's Food Authority, the FSSAI.
Right. And the theme they've chosen, evolving food systems, yata anam tathamana, that really says a lot. It's Sanskrit, roughly translating to as the food, so the mind. It really connects what we eat to our well-being, our state of mind. It elevates the whole thing. It's not just about compliance. It's about looking at food safety holistically. And the core aim is to get regulators talking, sharing ideas, strengthening their systems, and crucially, working towards harmonizing policies globally, adapting to all the new stuff, new hazards, new tech, changing consumer demands.
It definitely sounds like more than just another conference. It's about shaping what comes next and looking at their objectives. Here's where it gets really interesting. There's a big push on advancing regulatory science and innovation. They're talking cutting edge science, digital tools for risk assessment. It's like trying to move from just reacting to problems to actually predicting them, preventing them. And that connects to World Food Safety Day 2025 too, right? The science and action theme.
Exactly. That connection is important. It signals a real shift. Think about using data, AI, better analytics to spot potential food safety issues before they become widespread problems. That's massive. And it's vital if you want stronger global collaboration, more transparent trade, and getting ahead of really tricky risks, things like sophisticated food fraud or new contaminants we barely understand yet, like microplastics, or even antimicrobial resistance, which is a huge global health threat tied to the food chain. It's about building resilience.
And you mentioned collaborations. Clear this isn't just India's show. The participant list is properly global. You've got major regulators from all over, plus the big international players, WHO, FAO.
And Codex Alimentarius, of course, the ones who set the international food standards. Their involvement is critical.
So what does having that kind of diverse group actually mean for the summit's potential impact?
It means the conversations, the agreements, the frameworks they develop, they actually have a chance of sticking, of being adopted widely. You've also got top research institutes involved, like Germany's BFR or Health Canada, places doing the cutting edge science, having everyone in the room, regulators, international bodies, scientists. That's how you strengthen the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
Because global food supply chains are so linked, right? A weakness anywhere affects everywhere.
Okay, so let's zoom in on some of the actual topics they'll be tackling. There are 8 main sessions, all interconnected. One that really jumped out at me was integrating science and technologies towards sustainable food systems. They're planning to discuss things like, well, micro and nanoplastics in food. That feels like a huge, almost invisible challenge.
Absolutely. It's something we're only just starting to grasp the scale of.
Hmm.
And in the same session, they're looking at biotechnology's role in making food systems more resilient. So really forward-looking stuff.
Yeah, and then there's another one, harnessing digital systems for intelligent surveillance and proactive risk management.
That one sounds fascinating too. AI-driven lab networks using blockchain for supply chain integrity and figuring out how to regulate food sold online through e-commerce, which has just exploded.
It does make you wonder, though, how can regulators possibly keep up with tech that changes so fast?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But the ambition is clear. Build a system that's proactive, that anticipates, rather than just reacts. That's the goal.
And it's not all tech and contaminants. There's also a session on combating obesity, nutrition, fitness, and consumer awareness. So looking at how regulation can maybe nudge food reformulation, help consumers make better choices. It covers a lot of ground. It really feels like a comprehensive effort, looking ahead to ensure food is safe, sustainable, and, high quality for everyone.
Definitely. So thinking about all this, the pace of change, the global challenges, it raises a big question for reflection, maybe. What do you think might be the single most transformative outcome we could realistically see in the next few years, stemming from this kind of collaboration, whether it's AI in food safety or finally getting a grip on emerging contaminants? What's the game changer?
That's a really interesting question to leave folks with, something to ponder. So, if you're curious about where our food systems are headed and how the world is trying to manage it all, keep an eye on developments from forums like this one, the Global Food Regulators Summit. It's where the future of food safety is being shaped.
Okay, thank you for hearing the audio. And now the FSSAI is seeking the potential speakers who contribute to the several topics. So if you know some potential speakers in your country, so please communicate with Dr. Aruka about to inform them of those possible speakers. Thank you for your thank you for your cooperation. And also for those possible speakers, the FSSAI can provide the logistical arrangement, including accommodation, except for travel affairs. So so they can provide them. So yeah, so if you have some information, please communicate with Dr. Aruka and other FSSAI colleagues. Thank you very much for your cooperation. And so we turn on the agenda item. So day 3, also the agenda items of day 3 include a lot of interesting the topics like the ultra processed food and also the food contact materials. And then I think finally we have today also we have group. I think today also have a group work a little bit or some discussions. Yeah, and so let's start day 3. So please, the next speaker, please. So we welcome the first agenda item. So regulatory approaches to food contact materials. So stakeholders' perspectives and the role of Codex. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Aya. Good morning, everyone. And it's my privilege and honor to lead you this morning through this first topic of the day related to food contact materials. And I guess this is a very interesting topic for all of us. And we will have a lot of discussions about it in the future, or at least I hope that we will be having a lot of interesting discussions about it in the future. So what we have here is a proposal for you through a discussion paper that we developed as the Global Food Regulatory Science Society and the International Union of Food Science and Technology related to this topic. As you know, you may find the full text of the discussion paper on the website. And through this presentation, I will try to guide you through the content of this discussion paper, hopefully to guide the group discussions that we will have after this presentation. So the title of my discussion paper, Managing Food Contact Materials, FCMs, the Food Regulatory Practices and the Role of Codex. So in this discussion paper, what we will try to do, we will try to screen a bit the actual and the current scene related to the regulatory frameworks dealing with the issue of food contact materials. We will try to explore the challenges related to this topic, but also the opportunities and more particularly Codex opportunities in this regard. So what are these FCMs or food contact materials? The role of FCMs, as we know, and it's very important to start by understanding, and as we always say, by defining by understanding what are the food contact materials. Packaging, equipment surfaces, inks, adhesives, coatings, so any material that come into contact with food during the production steps, processing, transportation, storing, packaging, use, preparation of the food until it reaches the consumer. So any material that comes into contact with food is considered as a food contact material. But of course, packaging hold a very important share of this market of use of these materials. We are still facing some challenges related to this field or to this topic. The oversight related to these food contact materials remain uneven globally, and that's the major topic or issue or challenge we will be discussing today. We have many countries that still face gaps in the infrastructure, whether infrastructure related to the regulatory framework, the infrastructure related to the analytical capacity dealing with this issue, the legal tools, the scientific capacity, especially for some particular challenges or complex topics that we will be detailing further, related to what we call the non-intentionally added substances in these materials, or the NIAS, and the issue of the use of recycled material for food contact applications. Now, if we speak about the Codex in this regard, Codex, we have a certain gap in Codex related to the issue of food contact materials. FCMs are indirectly referenced in some Codex texts. However, we do not have a cross-cutting framework or a harmonized oversight or Codex framework dealing with these contact materials. Now, just briefly and attempting to define these substances and chemicals and materials, but of course, the classification of these substances, materials, chemicals should be standardized and harmonized. But just an attempt to present some kind of classification. We could start by classifying our material at the highest level as food contact articles. These might be packaging materials, surfaces of production instruments and techniques used in the production systems, tools that we use in order to transport, prepare our food, and consume our food. So all of these can be defined as food contact articles, okay? But then these food contact articles are constituted So these food contact articles are constituted of food contact materials, FCMs. And here we are speaking about plastics. What are plastics? Plastics are polymers plus additives of polymers. Okay, and let's not confuse here in this presentation. When I use the term additives, I'm not speaking about food additives. I'm speaking about plastic additives or food contact materials additive in this regard. So we have plastics, polymers plus additives, and we will see now also plus other things that we call non-intentionally added substances. We have the metals and alloys, as you all know, used in metallic packaging, like cans. We have the paperboard, cardboard, papers that we use a lot as food contact materials also. We have glass, but also when we speak about food contact materials, we are speaking about the varnishes, the lacquers. For example, when we have a can, the internal surface of the can is covered by a lacquer, by a polymeric varnish, in order to separate and to avoid any interaction between the food components and the metal alloy. Coatings, adhesives, inks, all of these are considered as food contact materials. So it's very important to understand this notion about food contact materials. But then these food contact materials are constituted of food contact substances. right? So when we speak about plastics, we are speaking about polymers, we are speaking about residual oligomers, monomers. We are speaking about all the category and family of what we call, or what we can call, intentionally added substances. You know, when we formulate a contact material, mainly plastics, but also others, we have to add additives to these material. Otherwise, plastics will not have the technological properties that we need in order to fulfill the packaging or the food contact properties that we are searching for. So as additives, we will be adding to the polymer antioxidants in order to avoid the oxidation of my polymer. We will be adding plasticizers in order to have a plasticized food contact material, right? We will be adding pigments in order to have some color, some shades to my plastic material or to others. So a lot of different additives are intentionally added. So this intentionality information is very important when I will have to deal with the regulation of these materials, because here, intentionally, I'm adding these materials to my plastic or to my packaging material. But then I have all the non-intentionally added substances category, and here I'm speaking about contaminants that might be coming with additives that I'm adding. So I need to here think about the purity of the additives I'm adding to my plastic. Or they might be introduced or generated during the processing of my food contact material, or when I'm using my food contact material in the packaging step. Let's say if I'm speaking about a packaging here, I might be introducing a lot of contaminants, for example, into the plastic itself. Okay, so all of these contaminants, degradation products, when I am extruding my polymer, when I am blowing my preform in order to get a plastic bottle, I might be generating degradation product or introducing contaminants into the material. So these chemicals are called non-intentionally added substances. Why we are introducing all of these and all these categories of substances and chemicals? What's the issue here? If all these chemicals will remain into my food contact material, I don't have an issue, right? Because what's important for me is the food. I'm consuming the food, not the food contact material. True? But unfortunately, food contact materials are known not to be inert. They undergo what we call interaction with the food, whether through the packaging, which is one of the major applications, but also when we use them in preparation, as we said, or in the production system, or even in the consumption of my food. So it is very well known that these FCMs are not inert. And every time we speak about all of these, we tend to explain this issue from the plastic perspective. Why? Because plastics are the most widely used food contact materials. However, let's not forget about paperboard and papers. They do undergo a lot of interactions. Let's not forget about metallic packaging and even glass packaging, which we consider as the most stable type or kind of packaging. So very quickly, three phenomena can occur and can influence and impact both the safety of the food and the quality of the food. And from the food perspective, I am interested in both attributes, right? I am interested in preserving all organoleptic properties of my food. I want to preserve the color of my food. I want to preserve the aromatic profile of my food. I want to preserve the nutritional profile of my food. But at the same time, they can impact the safety of my food. These phenomena are three. We speak normally about permeation. So here we have chemicals, compounds, going through the food contact material. And this interaction phenomenon is more important in packaging applications, because when I speak about packaging, the role of my package is to maintain the quality of my food and the safety of my food, right? So when I speak about permeation, I have chemicals transferring through the material from the outside to the food and from the food to the outside of the packaging. If I tell you that I have aromatic compound permeating, so I'm impacting here what? What do you think? What I am impacting or risking in my food if aromatic compounds are transferring? So I'm impacting the quality of my food, right? The aromatic profile, the organoleptic properties of my food. So I will pack a food with a strawberry flavor, and after a certain time, I will lose this flavor. If I selected badly or inconveniently my packaging material. And another typical example from another perspective, when we speak about modified atmosphere packaging, do we know what are the MAP, the modified atmosphere packaging? So if I have a permeation here, I might lose the mixture of gases that I'm using in my modified atmosphere packaging. We can speak about sorption, and here, sorption, what do we mean by sorption? We have the chemicals, the compounds, transferring from the food into the packaging material and staying inside the packaging material. So a very typical example here when we speak about fats, about lipids, when you store fatty food in your container, plastic container at home, and then you try to clean it. If your food is more a tomato sauce with a lot of tomato pigments and fats, you will notice that even after you clean your plastic packaging, you feel like you still have some oils and some red pigments inside the plastic. So that's the sorption phenomena. So when I'm speaking about packaging applications, it might impact the quality of my food. And the most important thing that we will be discussing today is the migration interaction. So what is the migration? Is the transfer of chemicals, of compounds from the packaging or from the food contact material into my food. Okay, so what are these transferring chemicals? They might be intentionally added substances, like the additives that we spoke about, but more critically, they might be non-intentionally added substances, like contaminants, degradation products, etc. One more thing, all this discussion, we can add more complexity to this discussion when we speak about recycled materials, right? When we speak about, if we take the recycled plastics example, when we speak about recycled plastics, the issue is that even if we are sorting very well my plastic material before recycling, let's say I am sorting and I am taking just bottles that were used previously for food contact applications, and I'm recycling these bottles in order to use them again in food contact application. But who can ensure to me that after the food contact application use, my consumer didn't use the bottle for other applications? Let's say in order to store in them detergents, for example. Okay, and then they throw them and they were introduced into the sorting and recycling stream. So I might have contaminants staying into my plastic material and being introduced into my recycling stream. So here I'm adding another layer of complexity and of risk that needs to be dealt with when I'm speaking about the use of recycled material into food contact applications. When we speak about active and intelligent packaging, so active packaging is a packaging that could give an information to the consumer, intelligent packaging, and active packaging is a packaging that will be releasing active substances that will be helping in maintaining the organoleptic or the safety properties of my food. And when I speak about multi-layers, so when I'm formulating my packaging, I might use multi-layers into the food contact material. So here I'm speaking about another layer of complexity that we need to consider. The problem statement that you will have to discuss it during the group work. So we have divergence in definitions when we speak about regulatory frameworks globally. Divergence in the pre-market oversight. We have divergence in when we speak about migration testing requirements. What are the migration testings? We defined migration, right? So migration is the transfer of chemicals from the food contact material into my food. So I am introducing chemicals into the food, right? That could be considered as non-intentional additives or could be considered as contaminants if we go back to the strict definition of contaminants and non-intentional additives. And here, in order to account for these, in the regulations, we have what we call migration testings. So we will not go into details now into the different requirements for those testings, but just to know that we might have severe divergence in the way we can approach or see the different requirements for these migration testings. And the critical non-intentionally added substances or NIAS approaches, how do we assess them? And all these divergences will be creating some trade frictions and uneven consumer protection, right? So according to the framework I'm adopting, I might be protecting more or less my consumer. So it's a very critical issue to be taken into consideration. Capacity gaps. We need to implement the ideal optimal oversight system, but it's not a very easy topic we're dealing about. We need high analytical testing capacity in order to account for all these complexities. So we still have a lot of capacity gaps with many regulators, especially in emerging markets. They lack expertise related to this topic. We still lack analytical lab capacity, validated methods in order to account for all these chemicals we introduced. And access to consolidated positive lists. So in this field, when we speak about positive lists of chemicals, we are speaking about molecules, chemicals, which are allowed to be present into my food contact material. We can speak about negative lists, which are chemicals that are not supposed to be present in my food contact material. For our region, for CC Asia, we can say that we are still having a wide heterogeneity in the food contact materials oversight across the region, and we would love and like to listen from you. What do you know about this topic? What do you do regarding this topic in your different countries? Limited accredited labs and harmonized methods, and it's a very critical issue, the analytical capacity related to this topic. Growing dependence on imports of prepackaged foods and packaging materials, so we need to verify compliance, right? And rising sustainability pressure, circular economy. We need to recycle more. We need to introduce recycled material into my applications. So we have a pressure here. We are supposed to use more and more recycled materials, but we need to verify compliance. Now, the current Codex situation. Codex hygiene texts and risk analysis principles touch on packaging or food contact materials, but remain some high level for standardized assessment or decision making. We need guidance for assessment. We need guidance that will allow emerging economies and emerging countries to make decisions. At CAC 46, members acknowledged this gap. So Codex cannot remain inactive regarding this issue of food contact materials. So they did acknowledge this gap. They initiated a circular letter on the topic of recycled packaging materials. And we had a discussion paper that was discussed briefly into the previous CCCF 18 session that was held here in Bangkok. And this endeavor, this effort could be recognized as our first entry point for more Codex engagement in this field. So we have a lot of opportunities. Establish a cross-cutting framework for food contact material safety anchored in risk analysis principles of Codex. Promote convergence of migration testing. That's the role of Codex, right? Harmonizing, converging those requirements. And documentation practices, declaration of compliance, having harmonized templates and requirements, traceability, good manufacturing practices related to the manufacturing of these food contact materials. Create a science-based reliance pathway toward a harmonized list of cleared applications of these food contact materials. Reduce duplication, safeguard health, and facilitate trade. Some pain points, and you can now, I guess, start imagining and concluding about these pain points. Lack of definitions, no agreed distinction between what we introduced. How do we define? How do we classify food contact substances, food contact materials, food contact articles, food contact applications? Divergent documentation and declaration of compliances. We have to harmonize and standardize. Fragmented migration testing. When we speak about a migration test, we are speaking about three technical and practical conditions. The time of this migration test, the temperature that we will be using in order to simulate real applications, and the simulants that we will be using. What are simulants? Of course, you can imagine when we will be simulating migration tests in order to see if my food contact material is inert enough or not, I cannot use real food matrices. Real food matrices are very complex to analyze. So I will substitute my food matrices with more simple solvents mixture. Those are called simulants. So we need to standardize, we need to harmonize those testing or migration testing requirements in order to have comparable results. If we have different tests, we cannot compare the results. Misaligned exposure assumptions. So it will limit reliance and recognition on all the efforts that are completed in this regard. The issue of non-intentionally added substances. So we introduce a lot these molecules, increasing challenges from impurities, those breakdown products and interactions that will create more chemicals in the food contact materials, meaning more chemicals transferring into my food. No harmonized framework for screening, prioritization, or risk assessment. We need to prioritize risks. We need to prioritize hazards. We cannot go and try to assess all these hundreds of molecules and chemicals that might exist into my food contact material. We have a wide variation and approaches in this regard. Do we take it case by case, molecule by molecule? Capacity gaps in toxicology and analytics. How do we assess for toxicology of mixtures? Here we are speaking about mixtures of chemicals that will transfer into my food. Do we take them one by one as chemicals, knowing that we might have tens or hundreds of chemicals, or we should approach it in a different manner, in a different way? Analytical capacities, we will need a lot of development related to the analytical capacity. The recycled materials issue. We spoke about the pressure, the growing pressure, a positive one, actually. Let's take it in a positive way, driven by the circular economy and more sustainability requirements. Lacking global requirements for feedstock quality, process validation, decontamination efficiency. We need to validate the recycling processes. No harmonized criteria linking recycled technology to predictable safety outcomes. So we need to work on certifying and validating our recycling systems and processes. Capacity limitation, limited accredited labs for migration and specifically NIAS assessment. Few training opportunities and capacity building opportunities. Technical guidance not widely accessible or complicated and need simplification efforts. Weak reliance mechanism. Duplication of evaluations. So more delayed decisions in this regard. Finally, I will end my presentation by some options that we are proposing for your discussion. These options might be discussed now by you and could be a way forward for Codex in order to approach this issue that we just discussed. Option A, the use of existing committees in Codex. 2, develop guidelines on food contact material risk assessment and GMP in a horizontal approach. to develop code of practice for recycled materials, to create electronic working group between concerned Codex committees, like the Codex Committee on Food Hygiene, the Codex Committee on Food Additives, and the Codex Committee on Contaminants in Food. The pros of this option: minimal structural change in Codex, so we're not brought to create any new task force or any new committee. We are leveraging established processes in Codex. The cons in this regard: the ownership is diffuse here between different committees. We have limited technical depth and limited expertise depth in this regard, so a slower progress. Option B: go towards the creation of an ad hoc task force on food contact material. The mandate of this ad hoc task force will be to develop general guidelines working about all the challenges and pain points that we discuss, clear definitions, safety objectives, documentation, standardized declaration of compliances, GMPs, how to assess NIAS, develop also guidance on recycled materials, feedstock process criteria, how to verify, framework plus an initial content for harmonized list, different lists of cleared application, cleared substances, positive lists, negative lists. The pros here: clearly, we will have a clearer expertise in this regard, right? So this ad hoc task force, the mandate will be clearly defined, so we'll have more expertise and very well-defined expertise in this regard. It's a more coherent package, strong visibility, working on capacity building, so a faster decision-making and cleared lists. The cons in this regard: requires Codex consensus and resources. So we are creating a new ad hoc task force, so we will need to reach consensus. And my last slide about the option C, which might be considered as a mixed approach, as a phased approach for your kind discussion. Start by a discussion paper to be presented at different levels, as you may decide or discuss, perhaps at the level of CC Asia, at the level of other regional committees, at the level of the Commission, the Codex Alimentarius Commission. The issue of a circular letter in order to ask for a clear mapping of global regional regulatory frameworks, so doing a systematic mapping related to this issue and present it in a very systematic and clear way for the consideration of regional committees or the CAC. FAO-WHO, the creation of an FAO-WHO expert consultation meeting here. Tiered NIAS, to work on a tiered NIAS risk assessment, test method by baseline, so provide an expertise in this regard regarding all the topics that we just discussed. Then go towards the launching of this ad hoc task force to draft the core texts, harmonized lists related. We can start by the most the very well documented or tackled food contact material, which are plastics, right? Adhesives, coatings, relying on trusted evaluations. We have a lot that has been done worldwide, okay? So we can rely in our assessment or in our evaluation on EFSA, on FDA, on Health Canada, and other jurisdictions. And 2029, deliverables to be presented for commission, and then we can smoothly transit to, again, existing Codex structures. More specifically, for example, the CCFA food additives, let's say, to deal with any requests for new food contact material additives to be used in future applications. And thank you so much. So I wish you a good discussion and deliberation, and I'm ready for any clarification or any question. Thank you.
Thank you very much for very informative presentation. And we will move to the group discussion session, and I propose so each table is one group, and we should discuss the questions. You can access the questionnaire for the group discussion on the website. And we have, would you please see the questionnaire on screen? And we have the two sections. The two sections. So section 1 is regional priorities and common needs. And section 2 is operationalizing stronger Codex guidance for the management of food contact materials, role pathways, and leaderships. And some questions are included in each section. So I would propose the group discussion at each table. But yesterday some people moved to different tables, so I would propose the same arrangement. So please please convert your seat to another delegate. And I would propose the different members will discuss together as much as possible. So please access to the this questionnaire on the website, and let's start the discussion. So thank you for your cooperation. If you have any questions. Okay, and after group discussion, that we will have the presentation by each group. So please designate the speaker at each of each group. So do you have any questions? Is that okay? Okay, so please move to the group discussion. Thank you for your cooperation. Oh, okay. So 10:30? Okay. Okay, so we will schedule the coffee break at 10:30. So group discussion ends 10:30, or if you want to continue, you can discuss. You can continue this group discussion over coffee. So yeah, and the report of group will start at 11. So until 11, please finish the group discussion. Thank you very much.
Laisse un micro avec nous. Laisse un micro avec nous. بشغله بسم الله.
Asia has long been at the heart of Codex. Now it's coming together, stronger, more united, and science-driven. In Bangkok from August 18th to 20th, regulators, experts, and institutions will converge to define a shared future. 3 days of breakthroughs, from Codex committee outcomes to a region-wide strategy for CAC 48 to building agile, risk-based systems that welcome innovation. This isn't just a meeting. It's where Asia's food safety legacy is forged. Join the movement. Build the future. Lead with Codex. The 2025 Asia Codex and Food Regulatory Forum, Bangkok, August 18th to 20th.
Dear colleagues, our session is about to resume. We kindly invite you to return to your seats. Thank you. Dear colleagues, our session is about to resume. We kindly invite you to return to your seats. Thank you. Dear colleagues, our session is about to resume. We kindly invite you to return to your seats. Thank you.
So our session is now resuming. So please return to the seat. And the designated spokesperson, so please come to the top table on the front. And oh, could you please designate the spokesperson, and spokesperson, please come to the top table. Please come to the front. So I think 5 or 6 groups have each spokesperson. So please move to the front. Thank you. We did have 5 groups or 4 groups. Are all ladies? Gentlemen. We need a gentleman. Maybe one. Maybe. So does anyone volunteer? Does any gentleman volunteer? Yeah, let's start with, yeah, we are all spokesperson are ladies. But yeah, so let's start the discussion. So yeah, good morning everyone again, and thank you for joining the panel discussion on the future directions of food contact materials or FCMs. So our goal of this panel discussion is to identify the most pressing regulatory needs in Asia and consider how CC Asia can possibly contribute to Codex work, and think about what leadership and mechanisms are needed to move forward in terms of food contact materials. So I'll guide us through a series of questions, and I encourage all panelists, already panelists, to share perspectives from your group and your group. And let's make this interactive and constructive discussion. So thank you for your contribution. And the first one is the regional priorities and common needs. So let's look at the most urgent regulatory gaps. So based on the discussion paper, and some examples include the lack of harmonized mitigation testing conditions and no common format for document of compliance gaps in NIAS risk assessment, inconsistent oversight of recycled material, and fragmented exposure assumptions. So my question is, which of these do you does your group see as the top priority that Asia should address first? So perhaps we can start with from from you to okay. So to share then and others can react. Okay, so please.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I represent Nepal, Singapore, Mongolia, Thailand, and Myanmar. And in our group, we had very good discussion. And our group thinks that the top 3 priorities are no common documentation of compliance format, gaps in NIS screening and risk assessment methods, and lack of harmonized migration testing conditions. And particularly, Thailand has regulations and standards on controlling food contact materials in industries through GMP, as well as plastic food packaging, plastic containers, recycled plastics. For plastics not included, safety assessment documentation is required. And in context of Nepal, we have a history on regulation about the food contact surfaces since 1969. And the use of recycled plastic as a packaging material, this has been banned as per the guidelines for processed drinking water and the milk line that this document has guided to control the packaging material, the use of recycled plastics. This has been controlled by GMP, and recently Nepal has a technical regulation too. In case of the use of inked paper, they have been prohibited to use as a food contact material, direct in contact of food products. So this is our general overview. I think I missed.
Thank you very much. So the next group, please.
For our group, there's from Japan and Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, and Laopedia. The 5 countries have been identified the gaps. In generally, we have discussed that the international reference and regional reference is not yet exist for the FCM. And only the most of the country in this table doesn't have the specific regulation on the FCM. But I'm sure that Japan, you have the FCM standard. Our group is having the 3 priority. What that's we need to take this importance. Just the lack of harmonized migration testing condition, the gap of the non-additional additional substance screening and risk assessment methods, and the last one, we have fragmented exposure assumption. So that is a country is not harmonized with this exposure assumption. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next group, please.
Thank you. I'm Halisa. I'm representing Maldives, Myanmar, Singapore, Sri Lanka, and Philippines. In our group, we discussed about the shared region regulatory gaps, and then we agreed that lack of harmonized migration testing condition, no common documentation, and gaps in screening and risk assessment methods. As our data gaps. We have discussed, and then we came to know that Philippines is doing some kind of studies or like regulatory mitigation on which food matrices can be used on which kind of materials. Other than that, we have no other comments in the countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you and good morning. I'm representing our group composed of China, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. And before answering this question, I would like to provide you a kind of overview of the different regulatory situations in our group member countries. And first of all, for Bangladesh, there is a food contact material regulation published in 2019 that is developed by the Food Safety Authority of Bangladesh. And they also have a rule for the packaged commodities. And the general information for the unwanted components have a very general information for those components cannot be used as food contact material. Those are the kind of regulation documents which have some relationship to related to their regulation of food contact material. And for Indonesia, they have some basis of risk analysis for some of the food contact material, and they based on the risk analysis, the migration limits are set and associated, and the some analytical method have been developed associated with the migration limits. During the process of developing the analytical method and the migration limits, the regulation from EU and the regulation from Canada are their main reference. The Indonesia FDA is responsible for developing the limits, while the National Standard Agency is responsible for developing the analytical method. And in Sri Lanka, instead of having their own regulatory approaches in Sri Lanka, they mainly reference the regulations of EU, and the Sri Lanka Food Authority is doing the regulation for the food contact material. And last but not least, in China, we have the general national standard for the FCM, and we also have the specific migration limits for the FCM substance, and we also have the analytical method. The pre-market approval is necessary for the FCM, and we are also developing some migration testing method for the FCM substance. And then back to the answer of this question, we picked the three top issue we picked for the region is that, first of all, lack of harmonized migration testing conditions. We found that since there is no international harmonized testing method or recognized testing method, so that is why some countries tend to develop their own testing method. I think for each country to develop their different or their own testing method is a kind of not really energy saving or not resource saving. And the second one we found is the gap in NIAS screening and the risk assessment method. Based on our discussion of the overviews in some countries, the scanning and the risk assessment method is lacking. And the third one we pick up is the fragment exposure assumption, as we can find in the previous report of the other groups. And another issue we mentioned from our group discussion is the channel, the research, scientific study of the channels from the migration channel from FCM to food is still lacking.
Thank you. Okay, I'm representing Brunei from my group, and we are consisting from Japan, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Malaysia, and Maldives. Just a little side note that most of the countries in this group does not have a specific regulatory framework or standard or regulation in regards of the food contact materials. We do, however, some refer to the EU standard earlier on mentioned by previous. And for this question, we do similarly select the top 3 priorities, as the first one is the no common documentation, the DOC format, and then the second one we choose the fragmented exposure assumption, and then the gaps in the NIS screening. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing each group's overviews, and I very appreciate the information from members, and I learned each member has the challenges, but I think the gaps provided in this paper, especially no common documentation of compliance format is emphasized during this presentation. And also, I feel the lack of international reference. Some members have each their own developed the document text in their country, but other countries doesn't have any reference, and some members referred the documentation from developed by other countries and other regions like EU and Canada. But I think the international reference may be necessary for the members, and also I think also the risk assessment method and gaps in yes screening and risk assessment method are also emphasized by members. So yeah, thank you very much for the sharing the very the useful the information. Yeah, I learned a lot. So I'm very overwhelmed. So thank you very much. So move to the next question. So areas for regional alignment and Codex input. So the next question is, what can CC Asia the most meaningfully align and contribute to Codex work? And so the option could be agreeing on shared definition and safety objectives, developing the approach to GMP and documentation, giving regional input to NIAS methodology, and building consensus on recycled materials, or even piloting contribution to a Codex cleared application list. So which of these areas do you think are the most realistic and variable first steps for our region? So okay, so please.
So our group agrees that we chose the three most option that the CC Asia could meaningfully align and contribute to Codex work, which is the first one is that shared definition and horizontal safety objective. I feel like that's the most important. And then we agree that the joint approach to GMP and documentation practices, as well as the technical consensus on recycled material requirements. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Please.
In our group discussion, while we agree that we can do a lot of things to achieving that goal, but we found that we might do it in a step by step. So the first step or the first priority we found is that the shared definition or horizontal safety objectives. That is I think the most likely thing that we can do as the first step in the Codex community.
As the previous speaker has mentioned, we also agreed on the shared definitions and horizontal safety objectives, as it can lead to easier consensus in Codex as a region if CC Asia goes together. In addition to that, joint approach to GMP and documentation practices were agreed because we believe that CC Asia is a diverse region where many food contact materials are produced. We are a major producer of food contact materials. So research and development and then data in the industry can be used in approaching to GMPs and documentation practices. So that's what from our group. Thank you.
Thank you from our group as well. We have also discussed on those things priority that we can the gaps, the priority area that we work on. But the first thing that we have to do that is the first the clear definition, and as well as the horizontal food safety, the safety objective is the most important. And then after that, we will go for other things that's for the GMP, for the NIAS methodology. The first that I agree with the two previous group, that's the most important, that is the clear definition as well as the the safety objective. Thank you.
And from our group also, we don't have a different answer. It's the same. How we believe is that the areas that have been mentioned here are important, and however, as ASEAN member countries, we recognize that we need to move step by step, like previous speakers have mentioned. A practical starting point, in our opinion, is also about the collective contribution, about the shared definitions and horizontal safety standards, since this would provide a common scientific foundation, and from that we can gradually move on to the another areas, such as the joint approach to GMP and documentation practices, and later move on to technical consensus on the recycled material requirements, and also the NIS methodology. This phased approach will allow all members, including the developing countries, to participate meaningfully and inclusively while building capacity over the time.
Thank you very much for sharing the outcome of the discussion by each group. And I understand the clear definition, and so I think it's difficult for us to specify the just one priority for this issue. So we are facing all challenges and almost all challenges, and we need to proceed this issue step by step. And so, of course, we need shared definition, and also the horizontal approach, horizontal safety objective are very necessary for our region. So thank you very much for your answer. And the next one is, I think section 2. So the operationalizing stronger Codex guidance for the management of food contact material, role, pathways, and leadership. The third question is the operationalizing the phased approach. So as you know, the discussion paper suggested a phased pathway. So step 1, this year, discussion paper and circular letter to map frameworks. And step 2 in 2026, FAO-WHO expert meeting to develop baseline method for NIAS and testing. And step 3 between 2027 and 2029, ad hoc task force to draft guidelines, including on recycled materials, and to pilot cleared application list. So my question is, how can CC Asia best contribute at each of these steps? For example, by preparing a regional position paper, coordinating responses, nominating experts, so proposing leadership, or identifying a pilot application. So I'd like to hear your group's view on which contribution would be most feasible and impactful. So Vincent, please start. And
for our group is choosing the first three topic that can enabling this pathway to from the CC Asia. So one is propose a regional contribution to the Codex discussion paper, and also encourage the member to respond to the circular letter with the regional coordination, and also nomination of the regional expert to contribute to the FAO WHO meeting. So you think that is on both step 1 and step 2 that CC Asia can contribute, and then for the step 3 will be the expert or ad hoc CC Asia group to work on. So thank you.
Thank you. From our group, we also agree that encourage members' response to circular letters with the regional coordination, and nominate regional experts to contribute to FAO meeting would be the contribution from CC Asia side to enable this pathway. As I mentioned previously, that as a major producer of food content materials, CC Asia would have expertise and other kind of testing data in their manufacturer side, which can be contributed. So CC Asia coordinator can encourage this process through them. That's what we agreed. Thank you.
And in our group discussion, we found that, well, based on the different, the willingness, the interest, and also the different capacity, the basis of a risk analysis or risk or kind of scientific research, the basis, well, different country can get involved in these activities in different ways and to different extent. So we check all these solutions, the options. And I can explain one by one. Well, first one, propose a regional contribution to the Codex discussion paper. I think, instead of drafting or taking the lead of drafting this kind of discussion paper, each country can provide some data, provide some information to help drafting this discussion paper. And the second one, encourage member responses to the circular letter with regional coordination. As far as I recall, there is a circular letter on the recycled food contact material issued by the Codex Secretariat seeking comments from the member countries. And most of the Asia countries are very reply to that circular letter, or that circular letter inspires some discussion within the region. And the third one, nominate regional experts to contribute to FAO and WHO committee experts meetings. I think it's mostly like to happen because each country may have some basis of scientific research, and they have their own experts and willing to contribute to in a global content. And the fourth one, propose the leadership or co-hosting of a task force by a CC Asia country. I think there might be some country willing to take the lead or hosting the task force or committee. And the fifth one, support identification of a pilot application for the cleared list from the region. I think, based on our discussion of the overview of different country, and country would like to submit the data and information to help developing this kind of cleared list. So that is our answer.
Okay, so for our group, we do agree with most of the previous answers from the previous speakers. So we compared to the other question, we had a lengthier discussion about how to go this question. But we chose three from the option is that to encourage the member responses to the CL with the coordination at first. So by this, we can make sure that all the members respond to the this discussion paper and how they go about for the next meeting and so forth. And then we nominate regional expert to contribute to the FAO and WHO meetings, and also to propose leadership or co-hosting of the task force by the CC Asia country. By this, we would prefer for any countries that have any expert group in there to actually lead the task force. That's what we believe. Thank you.
And in our group, we also had a deep dive conversation about this. And we really think that all these contributions are really important. But what we believe is that it would be very good if we can establish a regional ad hoc task force when we meet at Nanning, China in CCEC 23. And this will help us to coordinate the responses to the circular letter, nominate the experts for FAO work, and even support the pilot applications from the region. And in this way, CCACA can play a proactive role in moving the phased approach forward, as mentioned in the presentation, the option C. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing the views by each group. And I understand all of pathways are highlighted by through the group discussion. And yes, especially I think the first three pathway are emphasized. And also, as Claire mentioned, I think regional members responded to the circular letter, I think issued in 2000, I think 2 or 3 years ago, regarding the recycled material. And so I think the regional members are very have contributed to the Codex work, the Codex work regarding circular letter. And also I feel also the establishing the task force. So some members are interested in, I recognize, so some members are interested in the establishment of the task force to address this issue. So yeah, I think the establishment of task force needs a cost, but if the interesting member propose, maybe the issue can be addressed at the possibly the task force in the future. And also, yeah, I think as a regional coordinator, if the some circular letters regarding food contact material or recycled the material in the future, so I try to encourage members to respond that circular letter. So, and to reflect members' view in the Codex work. And thank you very much for your sharing. Thank you very much for sharing your answers. And so I move to the next question. So leadership and coordination. So to deliver the phased approach effectively, what type of leadership is required at each stage? So let's talk about the leadership. So the first, for the mapping and the discussion paper this year, who should lead or co-lead? The CC Asia coordinator or a volunteer country? And the next one is for the expert meeting in 2026. Should it be FAO, WHO, or could a regional expert group or host country from CC Asia takes a lead? And the task force in 2027 to 2029, should leadership come from the Codex Commission, or could a CC Asia country propose to co-lead, possibly with another region? So please share the group's views. So one by one. So.
Okay, in our discussion, we thought about this, and in phase 1, mapping and discussion paper, maybe we think CCACA coordinator should lead, and the expert meeting in 2026. Either it could be FAO, WHO, or a regional expert group. And in case of task force phase 2027 to 2029, we think CC Asia member country Mongolia, because I forgot to mention about Mongolia previously. Mongolia have a food product safety law and national standard for food contact materials and maximum level of residue, which is based on the Codex standards. Such as CACGL 6 and CACGL 193 and ISO standards. So I think Mongolia is quite ahead in this, and they have the urge to lead this task force, and possibly with the internal consultation inside the country, and co-lead with the non-Asian country, like maybe EU, because EU regulates food contact materials since 2004. So they have a lot of experiences. So it would be better. We think that mapping and discussion paper should be led by CC Asia coordinator, and the expert meeting either by FAO, WHO, or regional expert group, and the task force by Mongolia with possible internal consultation and co-lead with EU. Thank you.
Our group also have the same view with the first group that have been just mentioned for the mapping and discussion paper, and we think that our Asia coordinator is the best person who can take the lead. And for the expert meeting, we also agree that FAO, WHO, and also a regional expert group that can co-lead or lead this expert meeting. For the last one, we also propose Japan as a country of the proposed to be co-lead on this activity in the last task force phase. But in our group, it seemed to me that the Japan member is not really. But for my personal, I know that Japan is the lead for the TC34 for the FCM, and excellent work has been done. So we propose that Japan can be for the CCAC member to co-lead. Thank you.
Thank you. From our group, when we were working and led to this question, of course, CC Asia coordinator is attracted to mapping and discussion paper. And then for expert meeting, we believe it's like more than regional, it's a global work. So FAO, WHO can lead, and then in each geographical region, regional expert groups can coordinate with FAO, WHO. And for the task forces, again, it's in different regions, so Codex Commission can lead, and then regional members can coordinate and come into consensus with the leaders and co-hosts. Thank you.
Thank you. And well, maybe a similar answer with our previous panelists for the mapping and discussion paper. We think, on behalf of the region, and was taking into consideration the representativeness and the coordination of this region, we think that the CC Asia coordinator may be the best option to lead the drafting or proposing this discussion paper. But this is not a solely responsibility for the coordinator. I think that the involvement, engagement, and support from all member countries are really important in this process. And for the experts meetings, as I just mentioned in our group discussion for the previous question, that depending on the basis of risk assessment, the scientific analysis, and different countries may be willing to send experts to the FAO and WHO experts meetings, and FAO and WHO could lead this discussion and could host these kind of meetings to strengthen the kind of global research or the global analysis on this matter. And for the task force phase, first of all, we all agree that more member countries were willing to engage and involve in the discussion at the Commission level. And we cannot decide if any CC Asia member country would like to host this task force, so we did not check this one. But we think that no matter how we're going to engage, we want to express our willingness to get involved.
Okay, so for our group, yes, I guess I'll be the fifth person to say that for the mapping and discussion paper, we would like the CC Asia coordinator to go on with this. And for the expert meeting, we feel like that all are checking out. So we chose others. So we're thinking like any voluntary country could just host that expert meeting, or any countries that have the resources or have the expertise in regards of this matter. And for the task force phase, it will be, we chose the Codex Commission is a better way to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your interesting the comment by each group. And as a regional coordinator, I need to consult with my colleagues in Japan. But I understand that the best option, one of the best option is to prepare some paper, discussion paper, prepared by the CC Asia coordinator. So I will try to consider the members' view. And also, but as Claire mentioned, I think the cooperation support by regional members are necessary to prepare the discussion paper. So yeah, I think all of the members' support are needed to proceed. And also, yeah, and regarding I think task force, I'm interested in the possible proposal of hosted by Mongolia with the cooperation by EU. And yeah, EU, as she mentioned, the EU has a very advanced experience among Codex members. So yeah, their cooperation is, I think, might be helpful for for Codex and our region. Yeah, thank you very much for your your views. And the next one is so readiness for involvement. So would your country or institution consider taking a leadership role or a technical contribution to any of these phases? So discussion paper, expert meeting, expert meeting or task force. So yes, so please share which areas you are considering. So if not now, so perhaps you might see possibility in the future. So please share the views. So okay, from you.
Well, because we are the China National Center for Food Safety Risk Assessment, we are not only doing the development of national food safety standards, but we are also doing the risk assessment, and we are also doing the foodborne disease surveillance. So I think, well, I can say on behalf of CIFSA, the things that can mostly happen is that we can send experts to the FAO and WHO experts meetings, and we are also willing to support by submitting data and comments and supporting the drafting of the discussion paper. And if there is any task force or committee on this issue, we would like to join. We would like to be on board.
Thank you. From our group, we have agreed that for the leadership, we are not, at this time, we are not ready, but then possibly for the technical contribution, there can be countries, technical expertise can be shared with. So that's all from our group.
Yeah, for our group, the lead is not arrived in our table. So depending of the but our group is proposed Japan to have the take the leads, and other member state is also involved on this discussion or contribute to the task force meeting participation. But Japan that we propose that we will need the internal consultation. That is from our group. Thank you.
In our context, as I clearly mentioned in the previous question, maybe it's Mongolia in case of task force, yeah, but with a clause, possibly pending internal consultations. Thank you.
Okay, since the countries in my group that are like Malaysia, Brunei, Bhutan, Maldives, and Bangladesh strictly no for taking the leadership for now. But we are, however, willing to cooperate for any and contribute to any of the discussion paper or attend any expert meeting. But for Japan, yeah. They are possible or pending to lead for this task force and all.
Yeah, thank you very much for yeah, your views. And yes, I take note of take note that the members expect Japan's contribution as a regional coordinator to for this issue. And yeah, I think and in my view, so discussion and informal, informal discussion during the session, and also I think I think we should continue the discussion. We should keep the the internal informal the discussion on this issue. So yeah, as a regional coordinator, I want to take some opportunities to talk, to keep discussion on this matter. So yeah, thank you very much for your the views. And the next one is operational enablers. So in your group's view, so what mechanisms are needed to make the phased approach proposed in the discussion paper successful? So choose top 2. So could you please share the outcome of the discussion? So which one? Okay, please.
Actually, our group feels like all are valid, all the options are valid. But if we were to choose the top 2, the first one, of course, it will be the dedicated financial support or the trust fund. And lastly, for the second one, we chose that the regional expert group are very important mechanism for this approach. Thank you.
Well, I should echo that every option is valid. And well, according to our group discussion, we found that first of all, the dedicated financial support or trust fund is necessary. And this is also, and the fund also influence our level of engagement for most of the member countries. And the second one we pick up is the transparent data sharing platform. As you know that in the Codex discussion, data is the king. So without the data, without the scientific information analysis, nothing can happen. And we found that the transparent data sharing platform may be one of the very helpful solution that we can develop, or we can found a good database, and that is the base of the global risk analysis.
Thank you. Our answers are not different from the previous answers. Of course, fuel is needed to move. So finances is needed, and then transparent data sharing is as required as mentioned by the previous panelist.
For our group, we take the regional expert group and the CC Asia as well as transparent data sharing platform to have, in order to have the good data from our regions. That is for our group.
And in our discussion also, the opinion is no different than the previous speakers. Obviously, the dedicated financial support or trust fund is the most important one. And the transparent data sharing platform, along with the regional expert group under CCACM. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Yes, I recognize especially the dedicated financial support on trust fund needed to proceed this the discussion, and also, yeah, the laboratory engagement on the transparent data sharing platform has also emphasized to proceed these issues. Yeah, and yes, I very agree with the views. Yeah, the financial support is also, yes, of course, necessary. And yes, and I think for data sharing and for generating data, I think the capacity building is necessary. And for that, the financial support it should be kept. So yeah, I agree with that view. So thank you very much for your very nice contribution to the panel discussion. So thank you very much for the valuable contribution. So we have identified common priorities and areas for alignment, possible leadership roles. And I understand members expect Japan's role as a leadership, as a regional coordinator. So yeah, I take note. Of course, and the key enablers also the emphasized.